Hey y'all, welcome back. It is our night to Ask the Advocate. So thank you for joining us wherever you're tuning in. If we haven't met, I'm Kara Mayer Cunningham, Special Education Boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. So if you have a question, just type it below and try to keep it to one question in each thing. That makes it just easier for us to understand what your question is. Thank you for being patient. I was on last night and then somebody in the neighborhood interrupted the internet linkage. So it's kind of hard to go on the internet without Wi-Fi. So after 15 long hours, we got it back. So we are here. So tell us what we can help you with. What are your questions?
The first question that I have this evening is there going to be an academy?
Yeah, absolutely. So the academy will be at the same time. It'll be at 8 p.m. Central. It's usually on Monday nights, but since we're a day late, but we're not $1 short, it'll still be at 8 p.m. Central.
Great.
So one of the questions that we're getting already is, had a lot of parents call and say, school's starting in 5, 6, 8 days. And people are being told they have to have the meeting before school start. Have to is not a law. So you rushing a parent doesn't make that a federal statute. So certainly, we are happy to come to an IEP meeting and collaborate about student outcomes, but don't fall into the we have to thing. So San Marcos, hey, Mary Austin. I love San Marcos. So the other questions that we're getting is when do our children get their class assignments? And we do not know. I think that they put them up with tape and then lock the door and run off. I think that's usually how classroom assignments are. I don't think when I went to school in 1912 we had classroom assignments. You just got Miss Ratchet and that's who you got. So now there's other people that want certain teachers. So any questions you guys put in below and we'll be happy to answer. You don't want to miss the academy tonight because we are doing a very deep dive intensive training on working with paraprofessionals. What is the state obligation? What is the federal obligation? What is the legal obligation of your district? Whether you're in Hawaii or, the Hamptons, which is probably where y'all are, it's the same requirement. So what we saw all of last year was districts just throwing paras all over the place to deliver special education without any supervision. And we're going to really tease that out for you tonight with guidance from the Office of Special Education Programs, federal laws, federal statutes, so that you'll have them when you go into your next situation and there is not a special educator providing services to your child for their special ed minutes and solely a para or level 1 aide. Okay? So, Rachel, do you have any questions in your heart that you would like to ask?
Yeah, so a lot of people have been asking us about our time on Capitol Hill, and they'd love to hear you kind of just share that and share what we did.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is our third time. It was my third time to go, and we've really got some relationships starting to build. We're working on myself presenting before Congress our concerns as it relates to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, 504, and talking about fully funding IDEA. Currently, it's funded at about 11%. The commitment 50 years ago was 40%. And then we certainly additionally want to have some enforcement mechanisms. So we don't want to just keep throwing money at something if we're not going to change the way we're doing it. Last year, $900 billion with a B dollars were spent in education, $18,000 a child. And our outcomes are decreasing instead of increasing. And then we certainly want a mechanism, if a state is going to receive federal funds for children with disabilities, that there's an actual, the funds actually get to the teachers, to the general ed teachers, the special ed teachers, the paras, and the students. We find that a lot of the money seems to be staying at the district level, which was not the intention of the federal funding. So, we're very excited about working with people on the Hill.
All right. Here we go. We're starting to get a few questions in. If there is no special ed teacher, can 2 permanent substitute teachers teach the class?
So, it depends on the qualifications of that substitute, right? You might have You might have hired a substitute teacher who is a certified teacher or a certified special educator. In those situations, then they certainly can fulfill that duty. But as it relates to special education, there's never been an exemption, an exception, or a pass in the duties, obligations, and responsibilities of a district to deliver FAPE to those students. So it's very important that when you have an adult in a classroom, that you get the adult's full legal name and that you say to the school, is this adult a certified general ed teacher in Wisconsin? Is this adult a certified special education teacher in Wisconsin or wherever you are? And the answers are really clear. And so the answer is either yes or no. And so if the answer is yes, awesome, we have delivered the IEP. And if the answer is no, we are denying the IEP.
What do I do if a teacher keeps sending a student to CDC instead of following the IEP and supporting?
Well, so then you need to call a review IEP meeting. I mean, we don't just, kids are not, disposable. If what we're doing day in and day out, then we need to make sure that we make adjustments so that it works for everybody.
Excuse me.
So someone asked about, is there a law for secondary self-contained student to teacher parent ratio?
So there's not a law under IDEA about ratios. There are some states that we see that have some language in their state statutes about ranges of ratio. Again, it would be very hard to put a ratio on it because each child's needs are different. You might have a large number of children in a class that don't have a lot of needs, that they need the assistance of another person all the time. And then you might have a student that has really high behavioral needs that need more adult input. So it just really depends on, the makeup of the classroom that you're working in.
What accommodation should you get if a child cannot read a font?
It depends on why they can't read. Is it they can't read because they have a vision impairment? Can they not read because they've not had correct instruction? Is it they can't read because they're many years behind? And so the accommodation, we had an accommodation to make sure that the 504 works or that the IEP goals are met. So before the accommodation, I would look at see what kind of instruction we can modify or adjust to see if we can mitigate that gap.
Oh boy. Is a teacher allowed to discuss information with their spouse?
So if the spouse is not going to the IEP meeting, as the spouse is not part of the IEP team, there would be no legal reason for that. So what happens in an IEP meeting is confidential and should be kept with the members that have a reason, an educational reason to understand and talk about that data.
What's your opinion on 504 versus IEP? Should I push for IEP and not just 504?
So any child that has a 504 has already triggered child find. And so child find in the federal statute 300.111 says that the LEA, the local education agency, has an obligation, duty, and responsibility to ILE, identify, locate, and evaluate children with suspected disabilities who may be in need of special education and related services. So we don't even suspect a disability at the level of a 504. We already know they have a disability. So that should legally already have triggered a full evaluation. The great thing about a full evaluation, it will do one of two things. It'll identify or eliminate, and we want both of those things. You'd be hard pressed to find a child with a disability in a school that solely needs accommodations. It's happened. It certainly happens, but I think too often we push parents towards a 504, and it doesn't really give them the supports that what they need.
My daughter's IEP was not met last year due to them not following it correctly. Should I keep it?
So the IEP is the program. If they didn't follow it, we don't get rid of the program. We require the school to implement it with fidelity. So once the IEP is signed upon and agreed by all stakeholders, then it's codified, right? It's legal. So I would have a review IEP meeting and sit down with the team and confirm that we all understand the purpose of the IEP, the intention, and then talk about who are the persons that will implement the many components of it.
A governing board is trying to deny the hiring of new SPED one-on-one aides as they met the evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, so we don't have a board meeting and deny people their IEP, so that would be problematic for me. So every school district in the United States of America is charged with implementing the IEP. So if there was a governing elected body that was trying to usurp their responsibilities, I certainly would file a federal complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights.
Okay. A parent is requesting the raw data in addition to the summarized data in progress reports. Your thoughts?
I mean, I would provide that to them, right? So we have the summary, right, that we post up into whatever software that we use. And sometimes it's comprehensive and sometimes it's vague. But remember, anything that you work on, write on, maintain in the usage of your job being a teacher as it relates to the student, that educational record belongs to the parent. It doesn't belong to the school. So I assume that we have some document that we're writing, weekly when we work on the IEP goals, and then you'll take all of that and put that into the software. But they're certainly entitled to that.
My child has been placed in general education, but he is nonverbal. He can't have an aid or accessible device, or ACC device.
Well, I would say who said he can't. So if he has a deficit, a known deficit, and then we have ways to mitigate that with special education and or related services, he would be certainly due an assistive technology evaluation in the area of communication. And if general ed is the right setting for him, great. But we need to make sure that we have the right supports in there and that we're not violating LRE. But when you say the school won't provide it, I would certainly get the school won't provide that in a prior written notice. So this is what I would say. Dear school, since you are choosing to deny my son XYZ, put that whatever is in there, an evaluation, a support, a service, a device. Since you are choosing to deny my son a device, please provide that denial to me in a prior written notice by close of business.
How to advocate for my child to be in special ed room, not gen ed, due to safety concerns.
Yeah, so I mean, we make decisions on one 4-letter word in special ed, just one, data. So 2 phrases that I always teach everybody that I train. What does the law say? And what does the data show? Write that down if you're taking notes. What does the law say? And good news, the law is linear, and we need to all have a copy of the law. Here's the law, in case y'all don't have it. This is the law, or you can go to ecfr.gov, and you could print out the federal code. It's about 249 pages. This book is on our bookshelf if you go to specialeducationacademy.com, or it's in the link tree above. But this is the law, and we have to follow it, and we need to make sure that everybody working with kids is following it.
A follow-up to that, the school just won't provide it.
Okay. Again, I would ask for that denial in writing, right? So a school is obligated to give you a prior written notice should they choose to implement something or choose to deny something. So it's their legal obligation to provide that to you in writing, and then you will know what to do moving forward. So then you would think about, what are my next steps? Am I going to get representation? Am I going to do a state complaint? Am I going to request a mediation? But you need to have whatever's occurring or not occurring in a legal document. That's called a prior written notice.
Kiddo is receiving tier 3. Is there a hard rule for how many data points needed to bring up for special education?
I mean, the thing with RTI and tiered intervention, it was just meant to be used for a minute. It was never meant to be used for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and years. And so certainly it sounds like you've already triggered child fine. I would write an email to the school. Dear school, this is my formal request for my child, Billy Smith, to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are, and I wouldn't say a disability name, I would talk about the characteristics. Attention, learning, completion, communication needs. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything in writing. I just got off the phone with a new client, and the principal came out last year and was talking about out of district placement in the car rider line. And I know that you love your school district. I loved my school district. I love school districts. But we don't have conversations in Aldi's. We don't have conversations at church. We don't have conversations at the volleyball game. We don't have conversations in the pickup line about the legal needs of children with disabilities. We've got to do those in a convened meeting and in writing.
If a child masters the state test, do you think they would qualify to move to a resource class?
The state test is, the state test. I don't care about the state test. I don't care if you mastered it, if you wadded it up and threw it in the trash can. We have to look at the totality of data points. I've never made a decision for a child in special education on the state test. Thank goodness. If the state test was that important, it would probably be in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It's not. And I don't always know if the child is actually taking the state test. I had a student last year that we found out that she actually had gotten above grade level on a district reading assessment. And we found out later that she didn't actually take it. I know that's shocking. I'm sure that's never happened anywhere else.
Why is the school allowed to discipline a child with an IEP for ODD for being defiant?
So, it's really important that when we are writing the IEP, and we're doing a series right now in the academy called Every Page of the IEP, there's a section in the IEP called Behavior and Student Code of Conduct. So if a student has a pattern, pathology, a past of having behaviors that impede his learning or learning of others, we want to make sure that we capture that in the student code of conduct. So we certainly want, when there's a disciplinary need, that we address it, but we also want to make sure that we've taken into consideration the accommodations and modifications that might exist in his IEP.
My child was homebound for 4 weeks of the last school year. Didn't hear anything, and now starting 7th.
Yeah, so do you have current homebound orders? Usually at December and at the end of the school year, we will get updated homebound orders. So I would just reach out to the school and say, are the orders current? Do we need a new letter from our doctor? And possibly schedule a review IEP meeting to make sure that we're all on the same page.
A student elopes. Can they be in gen ed or in special education?
So elopement is a behavior. So one behavior doesn't drive placement, but certainly, hopefully, you have a robust FBA, a functional behavior assessment, and an appropriate BIP, a behavior intervention plan.
Is there an email my mom can contact you for more information?
Yeah, just reach out to us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
My daughter is unpredictable and has eloped from school property by trying to push into general education. That was a continuum.
Yeah.
Can you all help me? What? Sorry, I apologize.
You're good. Do you want me to jump in with one, or?
Yes, please.
Yeah. When is your next course to become an advocate?
So we always have our course to become an advocate. So our 2-day intensive on demand is actually half price for the month of July 2025. So if that's something you're interested in, avail yourself of that. So that'll be through the 31st. We don't have an in-person one scheduled yet, but we will get those scheduled out in the fall. We do a few a year, about 3 or 4 live virtuals, but at any time you can take the on demand.
My son had 14 diff 8 support in less than 3 weeks. That caused him more anxiety and more
bad behavior.
bad behavior, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I would just, reach out to the school this year and ask if we can have some continuity in his support staff.
That's not what the braille display said. All righty. Should parents sign code of conduct contract when child can't follow all listed rules?
I don't have children sign contracts. It's against the law, actually, for kids to sign contracts. You know why? They're minors. So I really don't have a child sign a contract that's a minor with a disability. Can't go out and sign a contract to rent an apartment. Can't go out and buy a car. So I'm not really sure why we have children signing contracts in the school.
What can I do if things were added in my child's IEP that was not discussed in the meeting?
Yeah, I would reach out to the district and say, this must be a clerical error. There are additional components in the IEP that weren't discussed in our meeting. Do we need to convene to rectify that?
Do you think a student with dyslexia without an evaluation for this, without evaluation for dyslexia?
So, the district could just accept the child knowing that there are exceptionalities or differences. I certainly would never ask for a dyslexia evaluation. I love y'all, but I don't like the word dyslexia. So, there are 9 specific learning disabilities, and 4 of them are reading. You'd be hard-pressed to find a child that just had 1 SLD. So I would ask for a full evaluation to include cognitive and all 7 Gs, and then that would give us a more robust evaluation. Also, it's very common for children that have dyslexia. They also have a form of ADHD, often inattentive. So you want to make sure that we're doing full evaluations, not just in silos.
My son is in a class where a student with an IEP is impeding the classroom learning. How can I something?
Yeah, so, what has to happen first is there has to be safety, right? For everybody in the class. So I would call an IEP meeting and ask for my child to be in a setting where he can focus on his schoolwork. And so, if the district's going to do anything about it in that class, I don't know. But I wouldn't allow my child to stay in a room where that was occurring.
I am a Texas teacher who just retired and am interested in becoming an advocate. How would I do that?
Come on down. So we have our 2-day intensive on demand. It's half price this month. So for the next 2.5 days, it'll be half price. So you go to specialeducationacademy.com. It's a 2-day on demand. And then after that, you would consider taking the mastermind. But we love training teachers. They're quite the smarty pants.
Okay, and this question kind of goes with that one. It says, does your advocacy course include how to build a business locally?
It does. It does. Well, and the good news is, ain't no locally anymore, right? Since Friday the 13th, 2020, we all went down to the Ace Hardware and got ourselves one of them Ethernet cords. And so I have clients in the Kodiak Islands, San Diego, New Hampshire, and Miami-Dade County. And we just do them back to back to back. So business on the top, my sparkly volleyball shorts on the bottom. I can't show them to you because you'd want a pair, but it's good.
You need to start selling them.
I should start selling them. Yeah.
My son had a major medical change over the summer of a G-tube placement. What do I need to do?
So certainly you want to make sure that you have an IHP, an individualized health care plan, and that we all understand its purpose, what it's used for. Is it for the totality of his intake of fluids and food? Is it for medicine? Is it for both? Is it something you just use at home or it's used during the day? Just make sure that it's all clear with the campus before you start school.
Okay, 5th through 8th grade AS instruction, levels K through 6, district stated to see if there's any curriculum left over to access. I've pushed for 2 years and nothing. How do I approach this?
I mean, I can't change the leadership where you work. If your principal won't do it it probably won't get done. But I've never heard of leftover curriculum. That sounds like something from Thanksgiving. So all districts have access to countless curriculum. It's part of their requirement for being districts.
What do you recommend SLPs improve upon in an IEP? Example, detailed class, goal writing, schedule of service.
So I love SLPs. They write the best goals. They write the most objectives. Sometimes there is great stuff that's happening during speech, but we're not having GMF. We're not having generalization, maintenance, and fluency. So really being able to hand off that great skill that you've taught, that then we're still working on repeating it in the general ed class.
How can I ensure teachers are trained and familiar with my son's IEP and FIP by first day?
I would go to their house with a covered dish, maybe some angel food cake, and sit down in their living room and go over your IEP. Because the truth is, my love, we do not do a good job for our teachers in supporting them. Amazing teachers go back to school a week early to get their class ready and all of these things. We email teacher bundles to teachers. Usually it's only their core classes. So what I recommend is called a Zac Pack. And so I would get a 4x6 picture of my amazing cherub, and I would make a one sheet for him. What's good, what he needs to work on, who's the best parent or guardian or surrogate parent to reach out to, what's the best way to reach out to them. And then I would attach a full, complete printed copy of his IEP and ask if there's any questions. And I would provide that to every person in this campus who will be providing him an educational product.
What is Homebound and what is it for?
So Homebound is a service that's available to any student, general ed 504 or special education, that they are in a season that going to school would not be appropriate. And it's driven off of an initial directive from a medical doctor providing a note explaining why that needs to be a consideration for the student at the time.
High school special ed teacher is asking us to willingly give up the 1-to-1 aid. Can we write in the IEP to get the aid back?
Well, I don't know why somebody would ask you to give up something willingly. So it's not about giving it up or keeping it or not keeping it. The question is, what does the law say? What does the data show? Does the student need the aid right now? And the answer is either yes or no. But when somebody's trying to talk me out of giving up part of my IEP, this is not like a ham sandwich that we're sharing with other people. This is my child's individualized education program. And that program sets them up for destiny or destruction. And so if we don't just take out components of it.
Can IEP students with math goals have their support class with MTSS Tier 3? It's the only option.
Says who? MTSS is not special education, so it's going to be a... You know what I would say to that if somebody told me that?
What?
It's going to be a no for me. It's amazing how things are the only option until you come in with representation. And lo and behold, just kidding, that's not true.
So this must be in a response to one of our earlier questions. It says, does that mean that my son should not start school on the first day because there's not an IEP in place?
So there's an IEP in place. I just don't know and have never experienced that every single teacher has a full copy of it. So when I pull open records for due process hearings, and I've had witnesses over this, they literally go out to the English, math, social studies, and science. So I don't know how old your child is, but they probably have music if in their elementary school, PE, library, elective classes, whatever that is. So I want everybody to have a copy of his IEP, and I don't want him to have sections of the IEP. I want them to have the full IEP. The reason we wrote the whole IEP is because it all goes together. So it makes me crazier than I usually am when you send out parts of the IEP.
The school homebounds a student due to them not being able to meet their needs. Should I mention a new school?
Mention a new school like in the district or out of district placement? What do you mean by that?
Let me see if there's a follow-up. response on that? Not yet. Okay, we'll go to the next one. My son has a 504 plan and is behind in academics. What can I do?
Ask for a full individualized evaluation. Areas of concern are attention, learning, educational gaps. We look forward to signing notice and consent. If you don't have a full evaluation, you don't know what you don't know. And if he's already on a 504, we have already triggered child find. Thanks, you guys, for all the gifts and the lightning bolts and the roses and the hearts. Love it.
Does your course and trainings cover Canadian content or just the U.S.?
Do we just love the rowdy Canadians? It doesn't cover Canadian content. However, we have clients all over the globe because our clients move for business. And so I don't know what the specific laws are in Canada, but certainly in IEP special ed is the same sort of support, whether I've got a client in Papua New Guinea, in Japan, in Germany. We're providing them additional support to mitigate the barrier of that disability. And then we talk about the best way to develop that wherever they are in school, whether it's literal hands-on support, accommodations, supplementary aids, those sorts of things.
What is your opinion on virtual speech services being provided by the school district for students?
No. And I don't know why you would take scraps for your children. Let's not do that. I bet we don't have a virtual football coach. I bet we don't have a virtual advanced science teacher. I bet we don't have a virtual 500 principals. So let's not do that. Oh, somebody wants to know what this is. So you can get this on the TikTok. Is this so fun? It's a little trombone. And then when I come to a meeting and everybody's serious, this is how we start it. Yeah, that's how that is. I just need these little things to make sure, I have a little fun in my day.
Keep things lighthearted.
Yeah.
A student with articulation errors and adrenal insufficiency, why would they only have an IEP and not an IEP plus 504?
So the 504 sits inside of the IEP. A 504 is accommodations. So in every IEP, there's a page full of accommodations. So there's nothing in a 504 that wouldn't sit inside of an IEP. So you don't need both.
Why doesn't the school recognize a doctor diagnosis?
Well, it's not that they don't recognize a doctor diagnosis. This is what we're looking for. Is what's going on with the student a disability that adversely affects their educational performance?
Thoughts on one teacher, 25 kids, mixed grades, K through 12, gifted. I'm worried about my second grade.
So here's the problem with gifted. And I know I'm going to make people mad, but it's kind of what I do. And I'm okay with that. I'd rather tell the truth than you be mad and then think about it and wake up in the middle of the night. I am greatly concerned with so many people putting so many kids in gifted. Gifted is advanced. There's short directives, and we expect kids to get to work. And so, and I know people are very excited if their kids are gifted, if they're great athletes, if they're really good at something. I would be reticent for any child to be in a gifted class unless that was the only thing that they needed. But there's not support in a gifted class. There's one teacher, and they give the directive, and they expect kids to get to work at a very high rate and pace. So there's that.
What does it mean if my child has a BISP and not a BIP, but have been told my child has an FBA?
Yeah, so we call it different things in different states. It's a behavior intervention plan support. We love to add letters to an acronym. A BIFSA. Yeah, I'll have a BIFSA and a side of coleslaw. Yeah.
Can school continue to refuse homebound services with a medical, can school continue to refuse homebound services with MD medical removal requesting homebound?
Not legally. So there's lots of things that schools do that aren't illegal. Here's how the school will know it's illegal. If you get good representation or if you file a complaint. But most people just take whatever happens from the school as it's gospel, right? The school said it, so we're going to just go with that. If your child needs homebound for medical reasons, I'm not sending him to school. If you're going to choose to deny his rights, then we have a different problem.
Am I allowed to ask for an emergency IEP meeting before my son starts school?
There's no such thing as an emergency IEP meeting. So you can certainly call a review IEP meeting in the first opportunity that's available, but there's no such thing as an emergency IEP meeting. There's emergency due process hearings, but no such thing as an emergency IEP meeting. Although I've been in those meetings and I've had those feelings.
Is there an instructional hours limit allowed for homebound? We were told no more than 4 hours.
So usually it's 4 hours if they're kindergarten to 12, and usually it's 2 hours if they're in ECSC. Why? Because we already have a doctor's note that they can't come to school. So I don't want to exacerbate the acuity of their medical condition by making them do a lot of work while they're home. I do have one kiddo, though, that has 5 hours a week because he is gifted and brilliant and can tolerate an additional hour.
How do I ensure my student gets their one-to-one aid that's written in their IEP?
Yeah, I would just say, can you give me the full name of their one-to-one aide? I can't wait to meet them.
Is there a certain time to get a child tested for services when a parent fills out a child fine form?
Yeah, so, I mean, you want to make sure that you are staying on...
Frame.
Yeah, so...
Like the time frame.
Yeah, it sounds like if they gave you a form, there's some sort of, communication and action, but you also don't want to let that drag out. So once you ask for formal testing in writing, they have 15 calendar days to respond if they're going to grant it or deny it. And sometimes it's a little slow as we get out the parent packet, but as soon as I sign notice and consent, I'm going to ask what is the due date for that.
What are your thoughts on service animals at school? Anxiety, I've had mixed opinions while researching for my child.
So I have only had one child that I've served in almost 29 years with a service dog at school. They didn't allow it in the great state of Texas, shocking, which is where I live, but she moved to the #1 state for special ed, which is Arizona, and she was allowed to take her service dog, and she had a condition called dysautonomia, which is a severe cardiac condition that really is debilitating, and it was amazing for her. And they even let the dog be in her senior picture without giving her any pushback, where she got a mountain of pushback in Houston. I won't tell you what school district, Humble. And yeah, so hashtag crushing it. Yeah.
That's neat. My daughter has an IEP and I can't get her school to get her OT in school. What do I do?
So to get a service, you have to have an evaluation. So first you ask for the evaluation, occupational therapy. Do you want occupational therapy and fine motor? Do you want occupational therapy and sensory? And then sign that notice and consent. When the evaluation comes back, we look at those results. If we agree with them, then we agree with them. If we disagree with the evaluation, you can also always ask for an IEE.
First year SPED teacher, do you have any advice?
Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And focus on your kiddo, right? It's not even remember your why, it's remember your who. Your who is those kids' lives that all teachers change kids' lives. I'm sorry that they charge you money to wear jeans. I would just wear jeans under my clothes every day and then chuckle to yourself. But it's about those great kiddos. So thank you for serving our kids.
What can I do if the school wants to place my autistic son in general education, but I don't agree?
So schools don't place children. The IEP committee makes decisions. So if you believe there's something that's not right in the IEP, then call a meeting and provide data that supports your position. All decisions have to be supported by data. What is data, Karen? Data is something I can graph, print out, make a copy, and screen share. Not feelings, not opinions, but show me the data that supports that decision that you're recommending.
The school dropped my son from speech because they said he speaks in a robotic tone due to his autism. What can I do?
So you got into speech, and we're going to get out of speech the same way. You don't just drop them from services. If you believe the student no longer is in need of that special education and or related service, then let's do an evaluation, and then those normed instruments will bear that out.
How do you feel about 3 MDR meetings and 15 suspensions in 1 month?
I feel like that you probably need representation to stop the goofiness.
My autistic son was just diagnosed with ADHD. Do I need an IEP meeting for that to be added to the IEP?
Yeah, so we don't just add stuff. There has to be an educational evaluation. So certainly you no longer have a suspected disability, you have a known disability. So again, that triggers child find. So I'd send an email. My son is diagnosed with autism, and we are requesting a formal special education evaluation and all related services. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent.
Is it legal for a school not to offer resource? They only have inclusion, mainstream, or self-contained.
It's illegal. So that's 300.115 in the federal code. 300.115 in the federal code. So we don't take out part of the federal code. 300.115. So, yeah. I don't know why you would think that you could take out the federal law, because we can't do that. So if you need a copy of the federal law, you can go to ECFR, which stands for electronic, what does the C always stand for? Code of Federal Regulations. Yeah, but it's a legal requirement. It has been for 50 years. It would make me very uncomfortable if your school district was not using the entire federal law as they take the entire federal funds.
Can a school refuse a reduced school day if they have a doctor's note that states the student needs it?
So a reduced day really isn't a thing. If we need to reduce the day for the student based on medical conditions, then we have to have an IEP meeting. We have to have that medical professional probably needs to call in or be on Zoom for the IEP meeting. What warrants that? If you need a reduced day, I think probably the better option would be homebound. When you get a reduced day, you really have taken away your legal covering for FAPE, a free appropriate public education, because we write an IEP for the entire instructional day. There are some kids that have half homebound, half school, but you want to really get down to the root of why they need a reduced day, and maybe homebound would be the better option. You know, when you look at a reduced day, then, you know, just how is your schedule going? Is your schedule like 2 electives in English? Then you're missing so much content. But certainly sit down with the team and look at what's appropriate.
Is it okay to pull students away from art and PE for speech services?
So they have to receive the service, the related service or the instructional service at some time. And we're always trying to avoid core content. So there will be times that they might miss an elective.
I signed the form to receive OT evaluation over a year ago, and they said they did an evaluation, but nothing's happened. What can I do?
I would like to get a copy of the evaluation that you did. So if we did an evaluation by law, we have to have a meeting about that evaluation.
What is child find?
Child find is the basis of special education law, IDEA. It's 300.111, 300.111, and it says, we, the school district, it's in this book, has an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to ILE, identify, locate, and evaluate children with suspected disabilities who may be in need of special education and related services.
Parent filed a civil complaint and was told she can't bring an advocate to the mediation. Is this true?
It sounds like somebody's pants are on fire. She can't is not a thing. So parents are allowed to bring whoever they want to bring. That's their legal right, just like schools are allowed to bring whoever they want. But unless she signs some goofy settlement, but there's no not bringing that. We just had, well, never mind. Yeah. Schools offer you all sorts of shenanigans and people sign off on it. It's not lost on me how much they try to control parents sometimes.
Can a school keep a special education student from graduating if they do not pass the STAR test?
Oh, sweetie. If you didn't graduate because you didn't pass the STAR test, we'd have a lot of 30-year-olds in 12th grade with a full beard. Isn't that, we just make stuff up. Really? A lot of seniors didn't pass the state test. That's amazing. You'd have a really good football team though, right? Here's Bob. He's our quarterback. He's 28. He's doing great things. When somebody tells you something, y'all listen to me. If somebody tells you that something is a thing, a law requirement, say this: thank you. Please email that to me by close of business. And if it's a law, a statute, or regulation, they can email it to you. Otherwise, they are lying to you because they think you are dumb.
Would you put a child in an SLD class if the student does not have a learning disability but could benefit from more visuals?
So I've never heard of an SLD class. So there aren't SLD classes. There are classes where dyslexia services are delivered. There are self-contained classes and there are resource classes, but I've never heard of a specific learning disability class.
Do after-school programs need to provide services for children with special needs?
Not if it is not tied to a state standard and a class. So for instance, if your child just goes to aftercare, that's not part of their instructional day. However, if your child's in the marching band and we're in marching season and they need to go to a football game and they need support during that game, that's tied to their class expectation and their grade, then yes.
This person says, Karen, since you've grown on TikTok, suddenly my district no longer uses RTI to deny evaluation.
Yay! I like it. I have grown on TikTok, haven't I?
Yes. That's good. It's obviously...
Yes, we like it. Yeah. I do a professional development training for school districts called Oh No, Karen's Coming. Instead of Oh No, Karen's coming, just do the law. It'd be much easier.
Right? Easier on everybody. Is there a max number of children with autism allowed in one single classroom?
Not that I've ever seen. There might be a regulation at the state level, but I've never seen that.
Sorry, my questions moved on me. 10th graders schedule. Go ahead, Travis. Do you have one?
Are there any rules about relatives being the SPED teacher / case manager for a student?
There's no rules or laws. It can get a little wonky though, can it? We have lots of clients who are teachers in the same building where their child has an IEP, and it gets a little tenuous at times.
How do you allocate SDI minutes when writing an IEP?
So, I mean, that's not really just a quick answer, but that's something that we train on. You know, everything that exists in the present levels, robust present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, and your present levels should be pristine, prescriptive, and puffy, will drive the level of need and the amount of time that we believe it will take for him to make appropriate gains on the IEP goals that we wrote.
With the Texas phone ban, how does it affect special ed kids, and what do they need?
Yeah, so there's, I think, 4 exceptions to that. So the rule is Texas House Bill 1481, and we're going to be doing a training on that. But certainly if you already have an IEP or a 504 that quantifies that you need assistive technology, whether it's a Dexcom or access to a cell phone for instance, you know, Travis is using his phone right now for Braille. We're certainly not going to take them away. The intention of the Texas phone ban was that so teachers could get back to teaching instead of arguing with kids and they had their phone out all day and they were using their phone for AI and, you know, Panera Bread, you know, all those things. So I think it's amazing, and hopefully it'll put some more learning back in the classroom and help those kiddos. But certainly if it's in your IEP that you have a need for that assistive technology, it's going to be in your assistive technology supplement. It'll be in your accommodations. It might be in your autism supplement. It might be in your IHP, your individualized healthcare plan. Just make sure that that's captured and everybody knows when you need the technology and what it's for.
Can my son's RBT be denied in pre-K?
Yep. And RBT is not part of an IEP. If you have an RBT at your school, that's awesome, but they're not due one, necessarily from private. You have to remember that people that go into schools work there. They're vendors there. They've signed a contract.
If a student has a 504 since elementary, does that child lose the 504 when they enter high school?
No, it doesn't go anywhere.
Should there be an annual meeting for a student who has a 504?
That would be helpful. 504s are really loosey-goosey, so I'm allergic to loosey-goosey. I'm more of a righty-tighty. So, but again, a 504, we're not measuring anything. We're not mitigating anything. We're not teaching a strategy. We don't track anything. So I'm not a fan of that at all.
My child's 1-to-1 was told she wasn't returning for an August start. They have yet to tell me if my child will have a 1-to-1. What do I do?
I would reach out to the district and say, could you get me the name of my child's new one-on-one?
My 10th grader's schedule and teachers will change 1 to 2 weeks after school starts. Student has an IEP and a FIT. What can we do?
I don't, why they're telling you that their schedule is going to change in 2 weeks. I would probably need a little more information around that.
When is the next training?
The next training can be in 5 seconds. So we don't have in-person scheduled on the books currently right now. We just finished up those. We just started a mastermind. But you could take the 2-day on demand anytime, and then we'll be scheduling other things for the fall. That is on my to-do list. My little tiny, very tiny to-do list.
Yeah, sure.
But I do have a big announcement. You guys want to hear the big announcement?
Yes.
So our book is soon to be released, and we're going to start pre-orders for the most amazing special education book that you've ever held in your hand, whether you're a parent, educator, or advocate. We're so excited. We're starting a book club. We'll have pre-sales that include hundreds of dollars worth of bonuses. So that'll be out in the next few days.
We can't wait. Are you in California?
I am in California all the time, but I live in Houston, Texas, the land of the big hair. I used to live in California. I used to live, wait for it, in Canoga Park. It's not quite Beverly Hills, but you know, that was 172 years ago when I was going to be a famous celebrity. And now look at me.
The acting didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I'm not still living in Los Angeles. Whew.
What do I do if the school is intentionally misinterpreting the CAP and is not communicating with us? The CAP?
I mean, again, if you need support in a meeting, there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? You have 6 dispute resolution options, a facilitated IEP meeting, a state complaint, a mediation, a dispute resolution option, a due process hearing, or a federal complaint. I do find almost always, not always, but almost always, there's somebody that I could get on the phone in the district that would be willing to listen to the acuity of my concerns. When that's not an option, then you're going to have to file.
Someone said you are a famous advocate.
Oh, thank you.
And then someone else says they haven't taken the course yet, but thank you for the content. She is a preschool teacher and has been able to help some of her kids.
Oh, awesome. So somebody just asked, so Emily Davis Smith asked, what are your thoughts about the possibility of no federal DOE and special education in each state? So the Department of Education houses 13 entities, 13 divisions that have to do with education. So if that department is not there, it's not the divisions, right? So the Department of Education doesn't pay anybody, doesn't give anybody a ticket, doesn't do any of those things. It's sort of a pass-through. So if they're going to reorganize it, those other 13 divisions will go to another government department.
Okay, and so this is a follow-up to the question. regarding the 10th grade student whose schedule was changing 2 weeks in, and it is due to a schedule change, and that the class selection change won't take effect until 2 weeks in.
Okay. So, I mean, a classroom change doesn't affect your IEP. So, we can implement the IEP on the playground, on the roof, in the building. So, a different class doesn't change whether or not we have to implement the IEP.
Diane is waiting to win the lottery so that she can become an advocate.
Oh, if you become an advocate, it will feel like you won the lottery.
How do I decide between school, kindergarten, or ABA?
They're two completely different things. I would highly recommend that you consider school. I love ABA, but the intention of it is for a moment. And I find that my clients spend way too much time with their kids in ABA, and it becomes often a hindrance. ABA cannot be replicated in a public school. It's one-on-one. We're reinforcing a kiddo. But if you have a child that has really profound behaviors that are the primacy focus of what you need to work on right now, then certainly consider ABA. My lipstick is Buxom, and the color's called Mover. I have 17,000 of them in my bathroom. I can't take you to my bathroom, but it's Buxom, and it's Mover. Isn't that a good name? That's such a good name for me, right? I like to mover. Yeah. If you don't have good lipstick, I don't know what you're doing in an IEP meeting.
Do you feel that your visit to DC was successful?
Oh my gosh, it was so successful. Yeah, we have really good people at the federal level. We met with people from Missouri and all of the states, New Hampshire, Texas, Florida. Where else, kids? I can't remember all the places that we met, but this is our third trip, and we're going to keep going because we've had other allegedly agencies, some over 100 years, they're supposed to be advocating for us. I'm just going to tell you this lovingly. I can't tell, right? So we need to bring about change. I believe Special Education Academy has the largest voice, and we hear the most from people, real people on the ground, parents, teachers. We get hundreds of messages daily. And so we want to take the concerns of the parents, the educators, and advocates to the federal level so that we can get real conversation about what needs to happen. Part of the problem, and when I say part, it rhymes with most, of the problem is that money goes to school districts, and then that school district can decide what they do with it. If that money ever gets to a teacher or a special ed teacher or a para, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
What are your thoughts on a student that has an IEP for phonological processing being retained in kindergarten? She will be 7.
So phonological processing is not an eligibility. So retention is an administration issue. It's not an IEP issue. So I would make sure that the paperwork is right, that we've captured the correct eligibilities. And then what do we think the expectation from the retention will be? Make sure that you've kind of quantified that with the team.
If my child is diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia and we're starting a new school, should I ask them for a full evaluation?
If you haven't had the evaluation, absolutely, you need the educational evaluation. Make sure that you ask for evaluation in all 8 areas.
So I'm a teacher and an advocate keeps talking bad about us on their page. What can we do?
Oh, pray for them. Yeah. Or send them, call and leave a message and do this. I can't change that people don't have skills. A lot of the special education advocate conferences that are available, hang on, everybody hang on, are a bunch of whiners. Did I say that? Yeah. So I don't go to those. I don't need to sit in a room with people and whine. This is an area of concern. There's many areas of concerns in education. So an advocate should come alongside and serve the team. The first thing that I say to anybody that I train is that if you're not in the service business, this is not for you. We don't need any more takers in education. We are here to serve our parents. We're here to serve the evaluators, other advocates, other attorneys, the school district. When I'm in a meeting and I'm talking about something that might be purposeful for the team, I email them a copy of it, right? So talking bad about people brings about what change? None. Yeah, I would just tell them that they're banana heads and then stick out your tongue, but don't open your mouth. That way they can't tell. Yeah.
What takes precedence over the other, federal or state law? What if they contradict each other?
Well, they can't, right? So no state can reduce the benefit of IDEA, except for Nevada under their vision services and Washington and Georgia pretending there's no such thing as dyslexia. Did I say that? I did. But no state gets to reduce the benefit of IDEA.
I switched my child's school. The old school's evaluation is unreliable. Can I request the new school do an evaluation?
Yeah, I wouldn't use that language to get a new evaluation. I would just say it's been over a year and we'd like to have a new evaluation because we believe there's new areas of concerns.
How do you address schools requiring homework and not allowing proficiency to be shown in school?
So if I think homework is ridiculous. So they're at school for 7-8 hours a day. There's no data to support anything ever that children coming home doing homework has any long-term benefit. So if I have a child with an IEP and I believe the homework's beneficial, then great. If I believe that it's, punitive to that child and the parent and the war that it creates, then I will have the parent put a note, homework attempted, this is what we completed. But kids should be able to go home like my mamaw said during Watergate and let the stink blow off them, right? Just let kids be kids. Like, come on, people. We're going till midnight, Shannon. That's how we're going till midnight. Shannon asked how long we're taking questions. So we will take 3 more questions, Shannon.
Okay. If there are no new changes to my child's IEP, am I required to sign it?
If there's no new changes to the IEP, are you required to sign it? If you attended an IEP meeting, listen to me. I'm not right about a lot of things. I'm right about this. Sign the stinking IEP. Whether you agree, disagree, kind of agree, and then capture your position. I don't know why people tell people, don't sign the IEP. You know what that looks like to a fact finder, a hearing officer, a 2-tier appellate judge, the U.S. Supreme Court? It looks like you weren't participating in the meeting. So let's not do that.
Is co-taught the entire block of the class? Often at my K-5 school, it's 15 to 20 minutes of the class.
Then it wouldn't be a co-taught class. It would be called a little bit of sprinkle class. Co-taught means that the teacher of record and the special educator are there for the entire block. Co-taught.
I requested a full psychoeducational evaluation for a 3-year-old and just got a denial. What can I do?
No, I would make sure that you got the denial in writing and that it meets all 7 criteria for a prior written notice. And then somebody just said, I'm just going to jump in and answer one more question illegally. Self-contained kindergarten class versus full-time ABA. I mean, I don't know what the self-contained kindergarten class is. ABA does not provide instruction in English, math, science, social studies. They don't work on any academics. So anyway, great to be back. Missed you guys last night. I was really cute last night, but I just sat here all dressed up with nobody to take me on a date. So remember, we get it right for the child, we get it right for anybody. You have 2.5 days left to get special education 2-day intensive at half price at specialeducationacademy.com. Join us by downloading our app, Special Education Academy. We have our own app. You can just drive to the app store. All the parking's free. You go in, you download it, and all of our stuff will come to the palm of your hand. We love you guys. If you need anything, just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next training.